up, Taiwan? I'm Louise with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan is expected to issue a sea warning on Tuesday as a tropical storm approaches. Tropical storm Gaemi formed in the seas east of the Philippines and is moving northwards towards Taiwan. The storm is projected to brush Taiwan's northeast coast from Tuesday to Friday. The Weather Administration says Taiwan is likely to experience heavy rains and strong winds as the storm passes. A Taiwanese foundation is stationing staff on islands close to China in a bid to build goodwill between the two sides. The Straits Exchange Foundation says it will send people to work at a service center on the Yemen Islands, just over the water from China's Fujian province. The center deals with ferry-related services between Yemen and the Chinese city Xiamen. The foundation manages business and technical matters, and it comes under a Taiwan government agency, but technically it's private. That's because Beijing and Taipei do not have official relations. US presidential candidate Donald Trump says Chinese President Xi Jinping wrote to him after an assassination attempt.
Great guy. Wrote me a beautiful note the other day when he heard about what happened, and he wrote me a beautiful. Most of the leaders do. You know, a lot of them didn't like what I was doing to them, but they also knew it was about time. The jig was up, right? It was about time.
Trump was speaking at his first campaign rally since a bullet clipped his ear at an event last week. In newly revealed information, his former doctor says the bullet came less than a quarter of an inch from entering his head. Israeli fighter jets have struck a port in Yemen, killing 3 people, a day after Iran-backed Houthi forces launched a drone attack on Tel Aviv. Tiffany Wong has the latest.
Israeli fighter jets strike a city in Yemen on Saturday, killing 3 people and wounding dozens more. Israel's defense minister says the attacks are retaliation for a drone strike that killed 1 person in Tel Aviv the day before, carried out by Yemen's Houthi rebel group. Israel says the target was a key port for weapon shipments from Iran.
לדם של אזרחים ישראלים יש מחיר, הוא לא הפקר. את זה יודעים היום, גם בלבנון, גם בעזה, גם בתימן וגם במקומות אחרים. אם יעיזו לתקוף אותנו, התוצאה תהיה זהה.
Israel's military says Iran-backed Houthi militants have launched over 200 attacks on Israel, but that this was the first to bypass its Iron Dome defense system and kill an Israeli citizen. Houthi leaders say they will continue their fight as long as Israel carries out its war in Gaza.
لن تتوقف عن عملياتها المساندة لإخواننا في غزة مهما كانت التداعيات ومهما كانت النتائج، وأنها بعون الله تعالى تعد العدة لحرب طويلة مع هذا العدو حتى وقف العدوان ورفع الحصار وإيقاف كل جرائمه المرتكبة بحق الشعب الفلسطيني في قطاع غزة.
It's been 10 months since Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, triggering the war in Gaza. That conflict has seen nearly 39,000 people killed and tens of thousands of others wounded, according to Gazan health officials. Although ceasefire talks are ongoing, Israel's strikes on Yemen are renewing fears that the Israel-Hamas war could escalate into a larger regional conflict. James Lin and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Bangladesh has imposed a curfew after deadly protests shook the South Asian country. Soldiers patrolled parts of the capital Dhaka on Saturday, setting up roadblocks throughout the city. More than 100 people have been killed in the past week in clashes between police and protesters. The student-led demonstrations are against quotas that set aside around 1/3 of government jobs for the families of those who fought for independence from Pakistan. Students already face high unemployment rates. An oil tanker involved in a collision near Singapore has left the scene and is now believed to have turned off its tracking system, according to Malaysia's Coast Guard. The Ceres 1 and another tanker caught fire after colliding on Friday. Malaysia's Coast Guard thinks it could now be in the country's waters. The vessel has been linked to the trade of sanctioned oil from Russia, Iran and Venezuela. 14 of the 40 crew members of the Ceres 1 were evacuated after the accident. The rest stayed to put out the fire and have now disappeared. The crew from the other tanker was safely taken to Singapore. The cause of the incident is unknown. A top economic think tank has raised its 2024 GDP growth forecast for Taiwan, as the country's exports and domestic consumption see an uptick. The Zhonghua Institute for Economic Research, or SEER, upgraded its growth forecast for the year from 3.4% to over 3.8%. SEER says Taiwan's export-oriented economy has grown as global demand for AI increases. It predicts Taiwan will also see a boost in private consumption as the country's stock market continues to reach new highs. An elementary school teacher in central Taiwan has received state-of-the-art medical treatment after battling cancer for years. She's now in recovery after doctors performed surgery to correct a rare complication. Bryn Thomas has the details.
Miss Lee, an elementary school teacher in central Taiwan, has been battling nasopharyngeal cancer for several years. It's a type of cancer that starts behind the nasal cavity and can spread through the head and neck. She underwent radiation therapy 2 years ago and went into remission, but recently the cancer returned. After her last round of radiation therapy, Miss Lee experienced splitting headaches and weak limbs. Finally, she decided to seek specialized treatment at one of the country's largest medical centers.
其实一开始，我是要放弃我自己的，所以，我在网络上找到了荣总有这样的特色医疗，所以我就过来这里寻求协助。
Doctors at Taichung's Veterans General Hospital diagnosed Miss Lee with osteoradionecrosis, a relatively rare side effect of radiation therapy that causes exposed bones to die. The condition had led to a dislocation of a vertebrae in her neck. The doctors then performed a minimally invasive surgery to remove dead tissue and correct her cervical spine.
以往的话，都必须要做传统的开放式的手术。那现在我们部门有独特的一种内视镜微创的一个手术，能够带病人一些在最小的伤害之下，还能够处理他的颅底骨坏死的一个情形。
Doctors say radiation and chemotherapy, the two most common treatments for nasopharyngeal cancer, can cause serious complications. But in Miss Lee's case, she was able to receive the care she needed in time. For now, Miss Lee goes in for regular checkups and is undergoing speech therapy. She's expected to make a full recovery and be able to go back to teaching next semester. Howard Chang, Wesley Louise, and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
A music trio has been blending the sounds of classical Chinese instruments to create melodies inspired by Taiwan's folk music. And they're going to be performing as part of Taiwan's delegation to the Paris Cultural Olympiad. Wesley Louise finds out how these musicians have been rehearsing ahead of their trip.
Representing Taiwan through its music. This Taipei-based trio, who go by the name Three People Music, have been fine-tuning their repertoire ahead of this year's Paris Cultural Olympiad, a festival highlighting international artists and musicians that's being held alongside the Summer Olympic Games.
其实我觉得在去巴黎这一趟，其实是要非常仔细的去规划，因为我们要想着怎么样把我们团的特色带出去，所以我们在曲目上面的规划也是精心挑选的。我们特别挑选很多在地的素材创作的乐曲。
The trio first came together as students at Taiwan's highly regarded Tainan National University of the Arts, one of the country's largest performing arts schools. There, they all studied Chinese classical music, each mastering a distinct traditional instrument. Guo Jingmu plays the guzheng, a plucked zither. Pan Yutong plays the zhongran, a plucked string instrument. And Renzhong plays the dizi and xiao, both wind instruments. And when played together, these classical instruments create a unique sound.
那其实这3个乐器本来它不是经常会出现的组合，因为在声音平衡上面可以知道说笛子它声音比较大声，然后在声响上面，我跟仪筒的这个声音中阮的声音音质又比较像。
They're now looking forward to exposing a wider international audience to traditional Taiwanese music at the Cultural Olympiad, an unparalleled platform to represent their country as musicians.
我觉得从音乐上代表这个台湾去参加奥林匹克是一件很神奇、很奇妙的事情，因为以往奥林匹克都是运动类的，跟我们艺术类的比较不相关。虽然说也是会看着电视，然后一起觉得哇，这个台湾加油之类的，可是第一次可以用艺文的身份，就是音乐的身份去参加奥林匹克。
Last month, Taiwan's Vice President Xiaobi Kim presented Three People Music with a Sash of Honor at an event dedicated to the country's Cultural Olympiad delegation. And as they prepare to represent Taiwan in Paris, these creative musicians hope their unique sound will strike the right note and resonate with a global audience. Kama Shu and Wesley Louise for TaiwanPlus.
With the Paris Olympics fast approaching, Taiwan's women's weightlifting team is gearing up to represent the country on the world stage. Among those going, experienced lifter Hsing-chun is hoping to overcome injury and bring home gold. Here's Wesley Louise again.
Keeping her eyes on the prize, Taiwanese weightlifter Hsing-chun is aiming for gold at this year's Paris Olympics. She's working against a string of past injuries, but she says her recovery has been promising.
目前状态是越来越好啦，对，但是教练团这边会压着走，对，就不要让我太快的去冲，对，然后目前几成这比较不好去说，但是我觉得信心是越来越好。
A physical exam last year revealed a waist injury, which took Guo some time to heal from before she was able to compete in the Hangzhou Asian Games in October. Now she says recovery is her top priority.
自己的状态要调好了，因为没有状态，你也没办法去跟人家尬，对，所以现在还是把重心放在自己的身上。
Last year, Guo started training with a new coach, Gao Kaiwen. Her other coaches say his new training plan is helping her improve her weaknesses.
Hsing-chun 的展体非常好，但是他的下蹲略显不足。他最弱的地方刚好是高教练最强的地方，所以请他来就是来弥补我之前训练的不足。
Guo was able to rest her injuries while training with Coach Gao. She says she's determined to continue competing as long as her body allows it.
还能举的话，我还是会继续举。
In 2021, Guo won a gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics. Paris will be her 4th time competing in the Games, and the aim is that she can once again come out on top. Kama Shu and Wesley Louise for TaiwanPlus.
A 29-year-old woman has become Taiwan's first swimmer to cross the English Channel alone. Xu Wen-er completed the solo swim of around 44 kilometers in just over 12 hours. It's her second long-distance swim in 2 years after she crossed the Strait of Gibraltar in October 2023. Xu says there were several challenges this time, but that she'll soon start training for another big swim in the United States. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, have a look at a New York City zoo welcoming a rare tree kangaroo, Joey. I'm Louise Watt. Take care. We'll see you next time.